Well, howdy folks. Today's the day I'm going to show you how I take this aluminum trim and try to shine it up. Well, we're going to shine it up, but I thought, now Dodge put this really pretty trim around their old trucks, and it has a tendency to oxidize and get real dull looking over the years, especially if the vehicles sit outside. And that's what I've got. This stuff, I don't know if you can tell from the video, but it's oxidized real bad. That's what it looks like, and this is what we want it to look like, without the bend in it, of course. You know, we want it to be nice and shiny and pretty. So I thought I would pick up some kind of compound, you know, just put it on there, let it sit, take it off, and voila, everything would be nice and shiny. Boy, was I wrong. It don't work that way. So I watched some videos, and I was walking over to get what I bought. I bought Blue Magic polish. And my thought process was, put this on there, you know, it turns black when you put it on, you let it sit for a few minutes, and then, you know, kind of like wax, you know, you get it off. And I thought through that process, I would end up with nice shiny trim. But no. It has turned into a process, and thank goodness, you know, if you're watching, you're probably like me, I go to the YouTubes to figure out how to do something, and I saw a bunch of other people's videos, and that's how I learned how to get this stuff to shine up like it should. Okay, I'm going to show you the process I'm going through step by step, and the polish that I mentioned earlier is used in the process, but it's at the very end. So I'm going to turn the camera around and show you what we're doing. I start out with 220 grit sandpaper, and then I go to 400 grit, and then to 1000, then to 3000, and then I use the cream. Now some people even go so far after, say, 3000 or 4000, they go to a polishing wheel and use a polishing wheel to get it really shiny. And I'm satisfied with where I end up with what I'm doing, and I don't have a polishing wheel. If I had one, I'd probably try that. So I'm gonna get busy on a piece. I'm gonna do, let's say, a section down here. I might even put a piece of tape on it so we can see before and after, but I'm gonna do a small section. I'm probably gonna put this thing in fast forward because it takes a little while. Honestly, the first step, the 220, is the most time consuming, I think, because you got to use that to get through that old oxidation. Once you get through it, then the next steps are just getting rid of scratches from the previous step. And by the time you get to the end, you've got all the oxidation off. And when you put this on there, it puts a coating on it, like a silicone coating it leaves on there, and that's to help protect it from future oxidation. So this stuff is definitely part of the process. So I'm gonna get busy here, and we'll see how we end up. So I'm not sure if you can see that, but you see where it's shining, got a little bit of dull there and a little bit of dull there. That's the oxidation. It's a strip there. It's a low spot right there. So I'm going to have to work really hard to get all of that off there, but all of that has to come off before you can go to the next step. And you can also see the scratches that this sandpaper is leaving. Don't worry about that. That's what the next steps are for, is to get those scratches out. So I'm going to work here to try to get the rest of that out of there. You can see right there that spot coming to a point, That's the oxidation that's still on there. A little bit on that end also. Okay, so we got pretty much all of the oxidation off the top. A little bit left in that groove. I'm just going to leave that there. My main goal here is to get this flat portion that's more visible. You can see we got some substantial scratches in there. Now we're going to take the 400, and now we're just trying to knock those scratches down a little bit. So we're going to go from that 240, 250, whatever it was, and we're going to knock them down to 400 scratches, 400 grit scratches. And you'll see as I start working on it how it starts smoothing out. Still going to have scratches, but they're not going to be quite as big and not as deep. So this step does not take long. These next steps don't take long. The most time consuming step is that first step. Get all of that oxidation off there. Now we're just getting scratches knocked down. And some people say go one way on one grit and then go the other way on the other grit, so you can see that you're getting them off. So you can see now we still have scratches going long ways, but they're not as pronounced, they're not as deep. We got rid of all of those really deep scratches. Now if I go the opposite way, you can see how this is scratching it. There again, it's still a little bit of oxidation on there, and I'm okay with that. I'm going to leave it down in that groove. It's hard to get to. That's okay that I leave that a little bit. Okay, so that kind of does that. So now I'm going to take some 1000 grit, and we're going to take those 400 grit scratches and knock them down to 1000 grit scratches, which is really going to smoothen things up. You're going to start to see a shine starting to come on it. And honestly, right here, this would make it look a whole lot better than it did. If you just did this little bit, it's a help. But we want it to be a little bit shinier than that. So you see now how it's starting to get a little bit of a shine to it there, and those scratches are going away. And I could probably do just a little bit more on each one of these steps, but I'm trying to go through this as quick as I can for this video, so you can see what it takes to get your aluminum on your old vehicle back to a nice shiny, trim that you want when you're driving your old car around. You want it to look nice. And a lot of these, especially on the Dodge, there's no one reproducing this trim. You have to take your old trim and salvage it. So there we go. There's our 1000. You can see we got minute scratches in there, but it's starting to get a little shiny. Now we're going to go to the 3000. Let's see if I can show that there. And these are old pieces that I've been using. Your sandpaper will last a pretty good while doing this stuff. So this is really going to kind of shine it up here with this 3000. And again, here's another step. If you didn't go any further, this would look head and shoulders better than what we started with. Now after this step, some people go ahead and take this to a polishing wheel, or maybe go to 5,000, 4,000 or 5,000, and then go to a polishing wheel, which will really bring a shine out. But I don't have a polishing wheel, and I'm satisfied with the result I'm getting doing this procedure just like I'm doing. All right, so we still have a little bit of scratch on there, but it's so small Okay, I'm gonna let that be. Could we work on it a little more? Yeah, get a little better. Yep. And then I might come back later and do a little more. I don't know. But for a quick video, I just want to show you the steps. You know, is there some magic potion out there that you can put on and wait a few minutes and wipe off? Nope. That's not going to work. There's nothing out there that's going to do that. You're going to have to put the time in and a little elbow grease to get your old trim back shiny again. Now I'm going to grab a paper towel and we're going to put the blue magic on. Now you can use some kind of cloth or something, but I usually just grab a paper towel, rub it in, and we're going to let that dry for a minute, and then we'll take it off. Now while I'm at this, I'm going to go to the other end. This is the old bad end down here. I'm going to put some of this on there and show you that just putting a polishing compound on there and taking it off really doesn't do anything for the oxidation. You know, it might clean it a little bit, but it's not going to get that oxidation off of there. So there you go. You got it a little bit cleaner, but that oxidation, you can see, is still on there. This stuff's not going to take that off of there. So we'll go back to our other end. It's been on there for a couple of seconds. We're going to go ahead and get that off of there. You know, and you might want to let that sit a little bit longer to get a little better. So now this is going to kind of shine it up a little bit, but the main thing is it's going to leave a film on there that is designed to protect it from the elements and keep that from oxidizing. So there we go, nice and shiny. Now let me take this tape off so you can see what we started with and what we ended up. Gotta love that blue tape. It works really good when you don't want it to. Okay, you can see the difference there now. There's our distinct line of what we polished and what has not been polished. So probably, I don't know, I didn't time it, probably spent about 5 minutes just to do this section. That will look nice on the vehicle. There again, you can put it on a buffer and get even a better shine, but I'm okay with the end result here. So to kind of recap, I started with like 240, 400, 1000, 3000, and then a polish. And if you will do those steps, and it don't have to be those exact numbers, but somewhere in that vicinity, you know, kind of work your way up to and end up with 3000. And it's gonna, you know, it's gonna make a mess. So make sure you're in your shop or wherever. Now this piece, it's going to take me probably an hour, maybe a little more than an hour, to do this one piece. So be prepared to dedicate some time to getting your old trim cleaned up, polished up, shined up, and ready to go back on your vehicle. But in the end, you'll be happy with what you get. This stuff does what it's supposed to do, but there is no quick fix. You just got to put the elbow grease in to get to that right there. So just a quick video to share with you how to clean your old aluminum trim up on your old vehicles. I hope this helps somebody, and appreciate you watching. And if you haven't subscribed already, subscribe to our channel. We'd sure appreciate it. Y'all have a good day.